What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Newt News. I'm here with just Andrew. We're two-man in it today. We're going to be covering a little bit about what's been going on lately with the Cardinals. Two really important things happened last week. Masyn Winn, our top prospect, debuted to much fanfare. It was a very exciting debut. And then also Drew Rom pitched, I believe it was yesterday. And while the results weren't fantastic, we're still going to dig into all those coming up. So the first thing to cover, obviously the most important thing that happened to the Cardinals, Masyn Winn made his debut. It was awesome to see him in front of the St. Louis faithful, and he impressed right away, in my opinion. I mean, he had that infield single that he legged out, but it was really his arm on display. He threw 97 across the diamond, which is instantly one of the 5 best throws this season by any infielder. We know Masyn Winn has probably the strongest arm of any infielder in the league now that he's up. So, Andrew, what really stood out to you about his debut?
Yeah, he did get his first base hit, a little ground ball to third base that Pete Alonso promptly threw into the stands. Anyway,
True.
so
We'll talk about that in a minute here.
yeah, but I think the defense and speed is primarily been what's impressed me the most. I think the hits will come.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys who have come up from Memphis this year haven't necessarily had their hit tools translate as quickly. Luke and Baker is an example of a guy
Yes.
who looks completely lost at the plate despite hitting like 35 home runs in the minors this year.
Yeah.
He's hit a lot. So, I mean, I'm not too worried about that. His bat hasn't looked as powerful as it did in Memphis. I don't think he has an extra base hit yet. I think only one of his hits actually left
His lefty infield. Yeah.
yeah,
He
so
had a
that's
101 mile an hour single that got through the hole between short and third the other day, I believe.
yeah, I think yeah, that's right. But I think the hit tool just needs to continue to develop. He's probably a little bit nervous playing at Busch in front of a relatively small home crowd, but still, first time in the major leagues is always
Yeah.
a bit of a challenge for a guy. But the arm and the speed have been as advertised.
Oh,
Those are
yeah.
that you can't really overhype those. At some point, I think in the next couple of weeks, Masyn Winn's definitely going to break that fastest throw record. He threw one like
Hopefully.
101 in the futures game. So I
Yeah.
think the record right now is Ellie De La Cruz's 97.9 mile per hour throw. I think Masyn Winn easily beats that. Just a matter of whether or not the national media will actually cover it.
Yeah, dude, I hope so. I mean, to be fair, his futures game throw did get some coverage, which was nice because it was pretty cool. But I'm going to be excited to watch Masyn Winn show off that arm. I think something that is underrated about him and was on display is his range. He didn't get that out, obviously, but just the fact that he stopped that ball. I mean, that was deep in the hole, kind of threw from an awkward position and still put, a ton of juice on it. Almost got the out at first base. That would have been one of the better plays we've seen from any infielder all season. And I think that's really what Winn brings to the table. And you look at a guy like Anthony Volpe, okay? Now, Volpe, he's got 17 home runs this year. That's pretty good. He's only hitting 220, though, or like 215, I think. And he's been worth 3.3 WAR this year. That's because Volpe's a really good defender. I think Winn has the ceiling to be a much better defender than Volpe, just because of that range, that arm, the accuracy. So, I mean, you're looking at a guy that could very easily be worth 3.5 to 4 wins a season, just by being an average hitter with some of the best defense in the league. I do think Winn's ceiling someday is a Gold Glove. So this is a guy that Cardinals fans should be really excited about. His debut is a huge deal for the team. And also, it's going to give us the chance to continue to evaluate more guys with an eye towards 2024. If you've been following the Cardinals, you've been following their farm system at all, you know that Masyn Winn is the guy in 2024. He's going to be the starting shortstop every single day.
Yeah, that's pretty much no other options for the
Yeah.
Cardinals shortstop there. You could stick Tommy Edman there, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
He's really a long-term fit. I think he only has 1 year left on his deal, right? Like he's almost at free agency.
Yeah, I believe that's correct. And I mean, if the Cardinals are smart, I think they trade Tommy Edman this offseason.
I mean, I think Wynn has to play himself into that a little bit if the bat develops a little bit more at the big
Yeah,
league level. I think they're a lot more comfortable trading Edman somewhere else for pitching. I think
for sure.
like we've been told that Edmonds has a lot of value to other teams, and at some point, I think the White Sox were like in play for like a cease trade or something. I don't think that's going to happen anymore, but at some point, I think he was even worth something like that.
I would love to see that. I would love to see other teams inquiring about Edman because as much as I like Tommy, I just don't think he has a place on the Cardinals in 2024. Obviously, of the options that we have, right? So the guys who could play second, short, and center field altogether, there's probably like 6 or 7 guys who fit that bill between Edman, Winn, Donovan, Gorman, Carlson, and Newbar. I think Edman has the worst bat out of all of those guys. He has the most versatility, sure. He's probably the only one that you can comfortably stick in center and at short and know that he's going to give you a solid defensive performance. He's not going to cost you a couple runs, although he still doesn't have the arm to play center field. That's probably not the biggest deal in the world, but it should be noted. Lars Nootbaar is a better center fielder on the whole defensively. And so I just don't think Edman has a spot. If Wynn's going to be your everyday guy, you're not going to platoon Edman and Gorman. It's just not going to happen. And if Edman sticks around, that's going to take a lot of opportunities away from Brendan Donovan, who made noticeable strides this year, was arguably a better hitter this year. He had a better contact profile. He didn't have as much luck, but he was still almost just as good on the surface too, and hit a lot more home runs. So I think there's just not a spot for Tommy. As much as I love him, I would love to see them deal him and maybe an outfielder as well. But Tommy is probably one of the most valuable pieces that'll go, and he might be the way to get a good pitcher. Maybe a Glasnow or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of pitching, another guy that debuted this week was Drew Rom. Rom was acquired by the Cardinals in the Flaherty deal, and he's been really, really good in AAA ERA, I think under 1. And
yeah, 0.82 across 2 starts.
So a really small sample size, but still been pretty impressive. And he came up yesterday to face the Pirates. I think Matthew Liberatore just went on the IL with some sort of injury. Hopefully he'll be okay. But Drew Rom was the next man up. And it wasn't great. How many innings did he go? I think less than 4 innings. And
yeah, I think he just went 4 innings and gave up like 4 runs. 4 earned runs. There were a couple unearned in the first that just weren't his fault at all.
Yeah. Instead of with the Waino start, as reported by Josh Jacobs last week's episode, Casey Lawrence made his piggyback yesterday, and I think he took the game the rest of the way through. He was actually pretty good until the last inning or so, where he gave up a couple of runs, but I don't know. Small sample size, I guess, because Casey Lawrence has never been really that good in his career.
Yeah, I mean, for those of you that watched the post game, Al Raboski did kind of rip on Drew Rom just a little bit, and I understand where he's coming from. Like, the frustration is real with this team, and yeah, it's tough to see like Rom go out there in his first start, but it's not like the defense had his back, and it was honestly really confusing the way Marmol put the lineup card together. Again, I'm sick and tired of it. Why is Fermin getting the start at second base? He provides nothing to this roster. I have no idea why you'd start Fermin and take Palacios out. Either Ali is an absolute slave to splits and spreadsheets, or he's like knowingly making stupid decisions. Because it's just a ridiculous idea to start Fermin at second. I mean, and if he's there for the defense, what the hell? He made an error in the first inning and gave up 2 runs. And by the way, Josh Jacobs pointed this out on Twitter the other day. When the Cardinals score first, they are the equivalent of a 106-win team. They lose very few games when they score first. When the Cardinals don't score first, they are the equivalent of a 35-win team. So, I mean, that's really bad. There are very few teams that have ever been that bad in history. And so, obviously, you can kind of say that, hey, that error in the first inning that allowed multiple runs to score did the Cardinals in. And it really did. After that, it was an uphill battle. And I will tell you, I have never in my life seen a team with less resilience than the 2023 St. Louis Cardinals. The moment one thing goes wrong, everything it's an avalanche. It's an avalanche of awfulness. And so, yeah, Fermin was the start of that yesterday. And so I'm a little bit upset about it, frankly. I can't understand the lineups card. And seriously, with Drew Rom debuting, why wouldn't you have your best defensive alignment behind him? Palacios is obviously a good defensive outfielder, and I would really like Tommy Edman, a Gold Glove caliber second baseman, to be at second when I have this new guy. But I digress.
Yeah, I think some of these lineup choices aren't making a lot of sense. I mean, when it's a lost season, I guess you're going to run out some lineups that you're not very happy with. Taylor Motter, I think, entered the game yesterday at some point. It was really, really
yeah,
bad.
because we were getting shellacked, and there's no reason to risk Arenado getting hurt. but that's like the 8th time this year or something, according to Derek Gould, that Mater has subbed in for Arenado. That's horrible.
Yeah, I mean, just not a great game overall. But I mean, Rum wasn't amazing. The offense didn't help him at all.
Yeah.
The only run scored via Kisner home run, which Kisner, by the way, has the second highest slugging percentage on the team,
His
which
tired
is
of goalies, right?
yeah. So I think only Arnaud has a higher slugging percentage this year, and he's I think one of 10 Cardinals now that has 10 home runs this year. That's pretty crazy coming into this season. So just want to appreciate Kisner a little bit. I know I haven't been his biggest supporter, but he's been really, really good this year.
Oh, captain, my captain, Andrew Kisner. That actually brings up a really interesting point that I didn't initially plan to talk about on here, but I want to ask you. Sorry, we're going a bit off script, but what is Andrew Kisner's value right now? I mean, you look at the season he's had this year. He started more games than any of us anticipated due to Contreras not always being available and then having some issues with the front office. So Kisner's been in there a lot. It seems that he's like kind of holding off Herrera with just how good he's been, not only defensively. I mean, he's been praised at length by the coaching staff, by the pitching staff, by other players on the team as a good clubhouse guy, but also seems like he handles the pitching staff well. That was something Molina was known for. He's a really good receiver. His framing metrics are pretty good. And now it looks like he can hit. His OPS is what, 790, I think. Like
809.
that's 809 now. That's verging on like elite catching material offensively. That's really good for a guy who has a couple of tools. He's got a decent hit tool. His arm seems to be more reliable than Contreras's this year. So what is his value this winter? And do the Cardinals trade him, especially considering there's a few years of control left there?
Yeah, this is really interesting to me. I think if you tell Mo last offseason what Kisner and Carrera have the capability of being at catcher, he doesn't go out and sign Contreras, who's a bad first catcher, which is a little bit unfortunate because I like Contreras and
I agree.
a lot of money into that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think one of Kisner or Herrera has to go this offseason. Maybe Contreras gets traded. That'd be crazy. Probably not. But I think one of Kisner or Herrera has to go. Probably Kisner because he has less control left than Herrera. I think the organization values him a lot more than maybe other teams would. It's going to suck to see him go. Like, it's not going to be fun. Like, Kisner's slowly become one of my more favorite players on this team. But I think I don't think Kisner is going to be a career 809 OPS guy for the rest of the way forward. So you might want to capitalize on some of that value while you can. Flip him to a team that is in need of a starting catcher, and he can go there. He's probably not going to hit as well because he never really has been that in his career, and still a relatively small sample size for this year. But I think you can probably get quite a bit of value for him right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think something we have to understand too is Kisner actually was a really good hitter all the way through the minor leagues. Kisner routinely hit near 300 in the minors, had a really, really good contact profile. And so it was surprising when he came to the majors and all of a sudden forgot how to hit. So the question is he rediscovering his form? Has he found his confidence? I mean, if you've heard him in any of his post-game interviews, like, yesterday they were interviewing him because he was the only guy that did anything good offensively. And, Kisner was talking all about how his mindset's so positive, how he's just having so much fun this year, how he's just happier as a player. And all of those things could be contributing to him actually making real changes moving forward and being a good hitter. I could really see, a scenario in which next year Andrew Kisner is a starting catcher caliber hitter. Maybe he's not going to have an 809 OPS. That's really, really high, but maybe he's a 750 OPS guy moving forward with a full season worth of at-bats. And that's a really valuable player in today's game. So I do think Andrew Kisner has legitimate value, especially for a team like maybe the Guardians, who came into the season, I believe, with Mike Zunino, cut ties with him because he was so awful. And they're really looking for a catcher right now. So, yeah, I think I would like to see Andrew Kisner moved. I also he seems like such a great guy, so beloved in the clubhouse. Like I said, handles the pitching staff, gets a lot of adulation. I'd like to see him get the starting role somewhere. I mean, he's probably never going to be a starter in St. Louis. Herrera just has too high a ceiling, too complete a profile. And, the Cardinals have too many good catchers in the minors, a lot of whom have higher ceilings than Kisner, such as, Crooks or Bernal, any of those guys. And so, yeah, I would really like to see Kisner traded. And I think, it's just surprising because you look at where Kisner was in spring training, right? I mean, when we had Katie Wu on here, we were talking about how he was battling it out with Trace Barrera because he was so bad in spring training, because he was so bad in 2022. And to see him completely break out, he's just a new player this year. Very exciting stuff. I guess I just didn't have Andrew Kisner as one of our best hitters on my 2023 bingo card.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about Silver Slugger Andrew Kisner last year. Maybe if there's like a Silver Slugger or something, I don't know. But one thing to note that his power numbers are severely like inflated. I don't think those power numbers are going to stay. He has he's slugging 497 right now. He's never slugged that ever in his entire minor league career. The closest he got to that was 492 in rookie ball in 2016. So I don't really think those numbers are really going to last in terms of that. Maybe he did. Maybe he's been hitting the weight room or something, and he's gone. He's built
up. It looks good,
I guess, but I'm not really sure those power numbers are going to stay. And I think those 10 home runs in 52 games definitely inflate that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, look, if Andrew Kisner could keep hitting home runs, like, I'm not going to complain. This is easily the most power we've ever seen out of him as a major leaguer. And I mean, you just said that with slugging percentage. But just in terms of, how many home runs, he'd be on roughly 30 homer pace right now, which, like, Andrew Kisner's never going to hit 30 home runs. But Andrew Kisner could have turned into a 20 homer hitter, which, like, that's a very similar profile to Rogers up in Detroit, who people really, really like as the starting catcher there in the future. By the way, quick shout out to Carson Kelly, Andrew Kisner's, co-prospect in the Cardinals system. The Tigers just picked him up after being DFA'd by the D-backs. So that's pretty fun. All of you Immaculate Grid players, that'll be a really good one in the future for Cardinals Tigers. Speaking of Immaculate Grid, I think we're just going to give it a play today. It's something that, we all like to do individually, and we wanted to kind of show you guys how we go about playing it on a show. And then after that, we're going to check back in for a little bit more prospect chatter. And then also we want to talk about the state of the 40-man roster. But coming up real quick, a quick intermission to play a bit of Immaculate Grid. All right, so I guess we're just going to start in the top left corner here. I mean, the obvious one would be Jose Abreu, but I feel like we got to do something better than that.
I mean, you're trying to pick a Cardinal for everyone, but I mean,
I know. I always like to try to get a Cardinal legend in every square. I know I can get a couple Cardinal legends, right? For Angels 40-plus homer season, I can think of like maybe 4 guys who've done it, and one of them's a Cardinal. I think Pujols did it in 2014.
I don't know if Jim Edmonds might have done it for the Angels.
No, I don't think so.
And we have future Cardinal Shohei Ohtani, but
I think he only did it for the Cardinals. I know that Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, Troy Glaus did it, and Albert Pujols. Let's put Albert in there. Let's do Albert.
Oh, 11%. Okay.
I mean, Mark McGwire hit 40 homers and 500 career. I mean, I think there's the only 2 Cardinals to have 500 career home runs. I don't think anybody else that I can think of because I know Musial got close, but he had like 475. For Angels, White Sox, give me Tepera, right? Worst Cardinal maybe ever.
Wait, no, I got a better one. I got Jose Quintana.
Oh, Big Q. That's my guy.
You got to use him.
Big Q. Wait, so nice. I mean, like, Mancini is the obvious Orioles Astros, but like that's way too easy. Oh, give me Colby Rasmus. Give me Colby Rasmus. He was an Oriole, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
1%.
I feel like I use him in a lot of Immaculate Grids. He's kind of
I use Quintana all the time.
So like Mark Trumbo was an Angel and an Oriole, but that's kind of easy, and also it's not a Cardinal.
I think Edwin Jackson might be an Angel Oriole.
Was he an Oriole?
I think so. Edwin Jackson works for everything though, so
yeah, he might have been. Let's do. I know there's no there's no more Cardinal 500 home run hitters. So let's just fill those in. Um, for the White Sox, Frank Thomas definitely did it.
Yeah, these like milestone ones are always tough to get rarity scores on.
Yeah, I mean, there's just
61%. There's probably like two other guys that did it.
Who did it for the Orioles? Cal Ripken Jr. I don't think did.
I don't think he did either.
Did
It could be a 500 home run hitter who just like went to the Orioles for a year.
I think Frank Robinson played for the Orioles for at least a couple seasons. Did he hit 500 career home runs though? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure he did. I would run Frank Robinson here.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, nice, nice.
Because there's only like 25 people that have hit 500 homers.
Was Wade LeBlanc an angel?
He might
he feels like such an angel.
he might have been. That actually would be wild. Was okay. I know Magner Sierra has played for the Angels. Did he ever play for the Orioles for a bit?
No, he was on the Marlins.
Dude, honestly, like you could run Wade LeBlanc. That'd be crazy. I'm pretty sure he was an Angel like kind of early in his career for like 1 or 2 years, but I can't be sure. Let's just do it.
I mean, why not? I know like Dylan Bundy works for that, but
Oh, Dylan Bundy's a good one too.
oh,
Hey, we might be the only person to pick that today. That's awesome.
0.07%. That's
Why is
crazy.
he on there as a Mariner?
I don't
That's
know.
cursed. Astro. Oh, Lance Berkman hit 40 homers as an Astro. Cardinal legend.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Oh, way too many people picked Berkman. Because I know Bregman did it too. He only did it once. And no other current Astro or like recent Astros done it. I think
Bagwell.
Who?
Jordan Alvarez?
No, I don't think so. I think he got really close, but he hasn't been healthy. I'm trying to think, because Correa didn't, Altuve didn't. Bregman did in like 2019 when he almost won MVP. And then Bagwell did it, Berkman did it, and somebody else did. All right, one more. Who played for both these squads and also played for the Cardinals?
I always think Joe Kelly when I see the Astros, but I know he was never there.
Yeah, Joe Kelly didn't play for the Astros as far as I know. He was a White Sox, though.
Yeah.
I mean, does Edwin Jackson work for these guys?
I don't think Edwin Jackson was ever in Houston. I know he was on the White Sox because his Immaculate Grid picture is always in the White Sox hat.
Yeah, he was definitely a White Sox. I don't think he was in Houston, though. Oh, this is so tough.
Too bad we never had like Fernando Rodney or what's the other guy? Jesse Chavez.
Oh, dude. That would be really nice. And the Cardinals have never had Dick Mountain. So,
yeah.
For those of you who don't know that, that would be Rich Hill. Oh, my gosh. I can't think of anybody. I know Grandal wasn't a Cardinal. Was he ever an Astro?
I don't think so. This is just a Dodger.
Was Maldonado a White Sox at some point? Yeah, I think he was. Maybe he wasn't. He was an Angel.
Yeah.
Fever dream. I feel like he started his career in the Central. Maybe I think he was with the Brewers early on when they were kind of decent. But yeah, I don't know. We might just have to run like a really basic one like Jose Abreu. There's got to be something better than that at least. Was Will Smith ever a White Sox?
I don't think. Oh, Graveman, I think, is the guy.
Oh, Graveman is good, but I don't think Graveman was a Cardinal, right?
No.
Graveman's actually a really good one. Might be able to do that.
Ever an Astro?
Was who?
Ryan Tepera.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I doubt it. I think he was just a White Sox, a Cub. He started somewhere else, though. I don't think he started with the Cubs. Tepera has literally one of the worst Cardinal careers of all time.
He was up for like 2 days.
Wait, who has Taylor Motter played for?
Not the. I know the list. It's not. I think either. I don't think either of those teams are on that list. It's like the Mariners, the Twins,
Because
the Reds, the Red Sox.
that would be so funny.
Yeah.
Dude, the Taylor Motter DFA tweet is gonna go so hard.
I mean, he's gonna get sent to Memphis. No one's gonna claim him.
I know. It's gonna be glorious. All right, I know we can do this. I know we can do this. Was Steve Cishek ever? Did he play for either of those teams? He was a Mariner, a
The White
Nash,
Sox. I know he's on the Cubs.
a Marlin. I mean, he might have been on the White Sox. I don't think he played for Houston, though. He was an Angel.
Yeah.
Oh, he was a White Sox Angel. That would have been a crazy pull.
My favorite Houston Astros is always Dexter Fowler because everyone forgets he was there.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't have been able to tell you that. And like I've been told before. Okay, well, I mean, Aledmus Diaz never played for the White Sox, right? He's an A. And what about this is so brutal. Did Piscotty ever find his way to Houston? No, certainly not.
He was only in the system of the White Sox, I think. They let him go.
Oh, he never even debuted for them. You're right. Come on.
I'm not sure there is one that I can. I mean, there certainly is, but like I don't know if
There's got to be somebody. I don't think we're going to be able to get it though.
yeah.
I mean, Wade LeBlanc. Oh no, we already used Wade LeBlanc. Matt Wieters was an Oriole, but not either of those. I don't know. Let's just pick somebody else. Pick like Graveman or whatever. We can look at the
I think
summary.
Ravens will be maybe like 10%. I don't know. Oh,
Yeah, for those of you following along at home, I hope you guys come up with someone better than we did. Well, I guess we're gonna just kind of go back and do a little bit more prospect chatter here. Thanks for following along with us for a little break in the show. One more thing I really wanted to talk about, wanted to address, is the fact that a lot of people are upset that Drew Rom got the debut instead of another pitcher who might be a bit more exciting, like Graceffo or McGreevy, or even Klopfenstein. And the reason behind that, I explained it in an article I wrote over at Redbird Rants, but the reason behind that is because Rom's on the 40-man roster. So I don't want to throw around that term without ever know what it means. I'm sure most of you guys understand it, but basically you get two rosters in baseball, right? You have your active roster, also called the 26-man roster. Those are the players on the major league club at a given time. All 26 of those players have to be part of your 40-man roster. That's a larger pool of players. And, obviously 26 of them are there. The other 14 can be scattered around on either the IL or down in your minor league system or on a taxi squad. And so the way that works, basically, if you have someone on your 40-man roster, you can call them up at any time, send them back down, provided they have options remaining, which is way more complicated than it should be. But yeah, so Rom actually is on this roster, which means that giving him the chance to play doesn't mean you have to get rid of somebody else. If McGreevy or Graceffo or anybody else who's not on the 40-man roster, if they were to get a shot with the big league club, in order to make that happen, the Cardinals would have to cut somebody, which right now wouldn't be a problem, right? It'd be really easy to cut Taylor Motter. We would all like to see that happen. The problem becomes in the offseason if they overhaul the roster significantly, meaning bringing in 6 to 8 new players, which we'd all love to see them do. If that happens, there could be a crunch where all of a sudden you have to get rid of somebody you really want. So the Cardinals at this point are likely to maximize their roster flexibility by refusing to, bring up new players. So I don't think they're going to give out a new 40-man spot for the rest of the year.
I mean, there's a guy that has a lot of roster flexibility. Anyway,
you were waiting for that. You were ready.
I mean, you said it, so
yeah. All right, and then we also just wanted to do a little bit of prospect highlighting here. So one interesting thing that's happened is Sammy Hernandez, the guy who came back in the Genesis Cabrera trade, really flew under the radar, really young teenage catcher, is now with the Palm Beach Cardinals. So he's made his way over to affiliated ball, so we get to see some stuff on him. And on Sunday, I believe, he hit his third home run in a very limited sample size with Palm Beach, which is awesome to see. So he's showing some power early. This is really encouraging, especially because Cabby is tearing it up. up in Detroit or up in Toronto. Why would I say Detroit? I believe he has a 0 ERA right now in like 13 innings. But hey, the guy we got back is looking promising. So that's really exciting. Him. And then also just wanted to highlight again how great Adam Kloffenstein has been since coming over. We've done a lot of talking about Drew Rom, but Kloffenstein deserves a little bit more praise. He's been absolutely outstanding. And he actually was not as well regarded as Robersa, who came over. But Kloffenstein has been the better pitcher so far. I do think the Cardinals rushed Robersa. Hopefully they will figure that out and move him back down to AA for the rest of the year. Final thing, Tekoa Roby has been activated and will start in Springfield on Saturday. So that's a game worth watching. I'm probably going to take some time out of my weekend and watch at least all of his start. I would encourage our viewers to do the same. MLB TV, I think, is complimentary for the rest of the year now, at least for college students. And minor league games now come with that. So if you get the opportunity, go give Tekoa Roby a watch. I'm sure plenty of accounts, including Kyle Reese, will be jiffing his start and putting it all over Twitter because, yeah, it's going to be really, really exciting. So good things are happening in the Cardinals farm system right now. As much as bad things are happening on the major league roster, there are plenty of reasons to be excited for 2024. Also, Thomas Sajazi hit for the cycle last week. That was pretty cool too. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I really wish there was more positive news about the Major League Club, but it's been a tough week, even by 2023 standards. We've just seen the Cardinals kind of get beat down the last couple nights. Couple debuts get spoiled, especially Rom's. But hey, we're going to continue to watch this rotation. There have been some bright spots, obviously, like Kisner. Hudson's been a bright spot lately, and obviously Libby had his moment. Hopefully he will continue to do stuff like that, but he actually just hit the IL, so that really stinks. But yeah, enjoy the rest of the season, because when the off season comes, just like the rest of y'all, I'll be wishing that there was still baseball being played, even if the Cardinals aren't the most competitive team in the world. But yeah, that's going to do it all for today. Get excited for Tekoa Roby's debut. Thanks, everybody.